Good evening, everybody, and welcome to School of Resistance at Akademie der Künste Berlin. My name is Eline Banken, and together with my colleagues Kasia Wojcik and Martin Valdes-Staube, I am curating the series School of Resistance, a discourse platform that connects art and activism. What strategies and tools can we use to create valuable alternatives for our future? How is art and activism entangled? Where do these two forms of practice meet, and where do they influence each other? In this particular debate, we will discuss the condition of global art production. How can a global realism be equal and sustainable? And how can it avoid the repetition of violence and dependency? We will use the documentary Orestes in Mosul, The Making of by Daniel de Moustier, and based on a play by Milo Rau as our case study. And we are delighted that several of the people involved in the project have agreed on joining us in this talk tonight. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to the studio in Berlin, but I will be co-hosting this discussion from my laptop in Belgium, together with my colleague Kasia, who did make it to the Academy. And since we have quite a large panel, we have decided to divide the conversation into two parts. So I am very happy to present the guest whom I will be talking with, which is, among others, Susanna Abdulmerty, who works as an actress. After studying drama and cultural studies, she performed as a street theater artist. She taught at a Goethe Institute and worked in various centers for asylum seekers, performing choruses in Arabic and German with women from Syria and Iraq. She was part of the collective Centrum für Politische Schönheit and is one of the co-founders of the cultural format Poetry Nights Berlin. In 2018, she starred in the film Jibril by Henrika Kuhl, and in 2018-19, she toured Europe with Milo Rau's production Orestes in Mosul. Our second guest is Sardar Abdullah, who is born and raised in Erbil, Kurdistan region, Iraq. He studied political science and works as a translator, production manager, fixer, guide, and specialist of the political history of Iraq, Kurdistan region of Iraq, and Kurdistan of Syria. With the appearance of ISIS in Iraq in 2014, he has been helping people with an interest in showing the real image and the real voice of Iraqi people to the outside world, aiming to change life for the better. The third guest I will be talking with is Khalid Alravi, who is a prominent social activist in Mosul. He has participated in numerous musical and theater events to help rebuild the emotional and cultural heart of the city and to promote healing from decades of war. Khalid has been playing the oud for 7 years, and even though playing was forbidden during the occupation of Mosul by ISIS, he continued doing so in secrecy. In 2018, he worked together with Milo Rau for Orestes in Mosul, which was, as he himself said, a real dream coming true. So now I'm passing the word to my colleague in Berlin, Kasia.
During the Iraq invasion in 2003, de Moustier and his team were involved in a shooting incident on the road to Basra, whereby American soldiers killed his colleagues Theweleit, Frederick Nerak, and Hussein Osman. He was the sole survivor. He worked on many documentaries, music videos, and art video projects. He filmed and directed the film Orestes in Mosul, The Making of, for Milo Rau. The next guest I would like to introduce is Klaus Theweleit. Klaus Tivolite is a writer, university lecturer, and cultural theorist. Between 1998 and 2008, Theweleit was professor of art and theory at the State Academy of Fine Arts Karlsruhe. His 1977 dissertation Freikorpsliteratur vom deutschen Nachkrieg 1918 bis 1923, Freikorps Literature on the German Post-War 1918 to 1923, was the basis for the two-volume, extensively and unusually illustrated monumental work, Male Fantasies. The book examines soldierly and fascist literature and asks the ever-topical question of how a person can become a Nazi or a soldier ready to kill.
All right, so now I think it is back to me then, Kasia, if I'm correct?
Yes. I'm sorry that I didn't give that to you, but yes, Eline, it's now your part.
No problem. I just wanted to make sure, since we are with many in this panel. So what I would like to do to open this discussion is actually the same way the documentary did, namely by quoting the Ghent Manifesto, the set of rules pronounced by Milo Rau when he took on the artistic direction of the City Theatre of Ghent. One of the more concrete rules, perhaps, is rule number 9, which states that at least one production per season must be rehearsed or performed in a conflict or war zone without any cultural infrastructure. Orestes in Mossul appears to be an important step or an important stepping stone in this aspiration. And this brings me to my first question, which I would like to pose to Susanna, because you have been able to partake in the project, Susanna, and you went to Mosul together with Milo Rau. Could you tell us a bit about your first thoughts when you received this invitation, and also how it was for you to engage in a project such as this?
So yeah, hi. First, I'm very happy to see all of my colleagues again, especially Sardar and Khalid. Marhaba again. And of course, Daniel as well, and Theweleit. Yeah, of course, in the beginning, I was quite excited about it. Going back to Mosul, I was there for the first time 2014, actually exactly when Daesh, when ISIS occupied the city. My mother is from Mosul, and I still have family, very close family, living there, and also lived there during the occupation of ISIS. For me, it was quite practical, in a quite practical sense. I considered the whole project. I thought, okay, when Milo asked me to meet him and he talked to me about the project and the idea, I thought, oh, I have to be in this. It's like a calling. Of course, I have to go there and be part of the project, as well as staging the Oresteia by Aeschylus in Mosul. Was quite interesting to me, because I, as a German actress with roots in Mosul, I've never experienced working abroad Europe, actually, or working in Iraq, especially. So I was excited, but it was more self-centered, this excitement in the beginning. I was afraid maybe I could not, I will not be capable of speaking Arabic properly. Will we be able to stage the theater, the play, as we wished? Things like this. But yeah, it was, of course, an emotional journey to me, to see the hometown of my mother, to see the old library burned down in Mosul, especially to see the woods, even if there was a fence around the woods. Because as I say in the film, in the documentary by Daniel, I grew up with this nostalgic image of Mosul. Of course, you know the stories about Nineveh, the oldest town, the oldest recorded town of the world. You know the stories about the prophet Daniel, the prophet Jonas, and the whale. But still, yeah, I was quite excited about going back and to see the citizens of Mosul and to talk to them as artists. Yeah.
Yeah, you also now briefly mentioned that you might have had some fears, maybe to call it, when going there, or that you were maybe questioning if you were able to perform or stage the Oresteia as you had anticipated beforehand. How do you feel like this turned out eventually? Do you feel there were some unexpected things that showed up you didn't anticipate?
Unexpected things that showed up. Of course, there were unexpected things, but my fear, maybe I explained myself wrongly. My fear was not about the city itself. It was really, will I be able to fulfill this position as an actress, but also in sense of language, of culture, but it felt very, very practical to me. It felt very clear that, yeah, we have to go there Milo explained to me the whole project, and I thought, yeah, we have to go there. We have to speak to the people, and we have to stage the Oresteia in Mosul, and not talking about the people in a German setting, but going there actually and listening to stories. Because listening to a story is also sharing a story. And as I said before, this might sound very self-centered, but as well, I want to be listened to, right? I want to be heard. So this is it makes sense to go there.
Yeah. As we also saw in the documentary, you play quite a central role in connecting connecting to the young actors in the school in Mosul in particular. I was wondering, how was it for you to be a woman in such a group of very young male actors in a city such as Mosul?
It was quite funny in the beginning, because of course we're talking about young people, young human beings, teenagers basically, the age of 15 till 18, 21 maybe. You're dealing with all kind of emotions. On top of that, you're dealing with these kind of emotions in a city like Mosul. So your teenager years were occupied by tragical stories. They have seen things I couldn't have imagined. They had to deal with it in their teenager years. So a lot of things came together in a very short amount of time. But it was very interesting to see that from the very first beginning we were artists. We wanted to listen to each other and hear each other's stories. It was not like we go there and say like, okay, now you tell me the story. We talked about all kind of things. They were asking me questions, and they were asking me to share stories as well. So we need to connect on a human level first. And I think even on the first day, I remember it was quite, they dealt with me with a quite respectful way. So no one wanted to shake my hand, of course, because I'm a woman and they're a young man. And after 2 days, this was gone. We were artists. We were working. We were trying to create something in a workshop, for example. So this was quite interesting for me to see.
Yes. All right. Thank you. This actually brings me beautifully to one of the questions I've prepared for Khalid, because you mentioned like we are all artists. We all wanted to make art. We were all driven by the same force, namely to make something, to create. In documentary, Khalid, we hear how ISIS forbade you to do art and how you were forced to play the oud in secrecy. I was wondering if you could describe how the state the arts were in during the occupation by ISIS, and also the situation immediately following the liberation. Could you maybe tell us a bit what your main feelings were, or what the main feelings of all these artists in Mosul were at that moment?
Yeah, for me as an artist or as a musician, whatever, like music is something for me, or music or acting is something like it's not only spending time with it. No, I feel it. I can tell people what's my story. So for me, it was a big challenge to continue and keep doing my music and keep doing what I love, or I can just give up and leave everything out. But situation there, it was so hard. Like if they will know that I'm playing music or doing some art, they will. I don't know what will be the punish, but maybe it will be a kill. They will kill me or something. So it was big challenge for me, but I decided to be that clever who will keep do what he like. In the same time, I'll be like, don't tell anyone, closing the windows so clear, trying just to play with a loud sound. Yeah, I think I survived.
Yes, luckily. I was wondering because, as Susanna also mentioned, there is this mutual desire you feel between artists to really do the art and to live for it. And you said that you were able to play, but that you had to do it like in secrecy, and that you couldn't tell anybody, and that you had to be like very silent. But one part of art is also this notion of sharing, and the fact that you can do it with other artists in the. How did you cope with this, with the fact that you couldn't share the art with other artists around you?
Let me tell you a quick story. I have a friend. He's that one who care about music and he listen always. So he know that I play music. It's my first 1-2 years playing music. And he said that was during ISIS time. He said that he knew other player, he play violin. So he said, what do you think you can, both of you meet in my house? So it will be not that danger if you will meet at my house or the house of the other musician. So his house, it will be like something in the middle. No one would think that we are playing music there. So we decided, and we turned on a big generator in the garden. So we made a noise outside, and we were playing it inside. So no one realized that we were playing music. We met each other with that musician. His name is Mohammed, and then we become a friend. So we keep meeting each other during that time. It's not that much, but like 5 or 7 times all of the time during all of the time of that. Yeah.
Wow, it's really great to hear.
Thank you.
Maybe another question that I was thinking of. You've been part of Orestes in Mosul. You played the role of the watchman together with the Dutch actor Bert Luppes. How was it for you to be involved in a project such as this? And why do you think Milo chose you to be the watchman?
First, it mean a lot for me that I was part of that project, and it's really like mean. For me as a musician, everyone knows that I'm a musician, and they don't know that I have an actor inside of me. There is an actor, and I just want to show it. So, like, I don't know, but like I heard that Milo and his group coming to Mosul, and the first time they came, I couldn't come and meet them, but the second time when they came, I just went directly the first day and I met Milo, and I said hi to everyone, and I was lucky that I saw that and record that Danielle filmed this beautiful moment for me. Like I told Milo, I'm a musician and I have energy to maybe to act. So if you need me, it will be great. And I think he chose me for 2 reasons. First reason, because I was having long hair and style like Bert. Yeah. So that gave me good reason to choose me. And the second, it was like, I think because he saw how hungry I was to act. I was so hungry to show, to tell. By the way, my name is Khalid. Khalid means immortal, and Rawi mean the storyteller. So I always looking to that name and said, "This is my name," to tell people by art, to tell other world what the experience of the people. So the immortal teller, and maybe by as an actor or as a musician. So I'm so grateful to have this chance.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Maybe that's also a nice way or a good time to go to my third guest, which is Sardar. Sardar, you have been working with Milo already for several productions, actually. The first time was in 2016 for his production Empire, and then also a couple of years later for Orestes in Mosul. I was wondering, what your thoughts were when you heard that a Swiss theater director would come to Iraq to stage a theater performance. Mosul, for instance, in 2018 was still trying to face the destruction brought upon it by ISIS and was confronted also with this big question of how to stop the violence. If it would decide to forgive, and if so, how that would be done. Do you feel that the time when Milo came, that was the time to start doing art again? I can imagine that there must have been so many other things, such as rebuilding the city itself, and other things that were asking for the people's attention as well.
Very glad that I'm here with you all. So yeah, actually, when I hear that Milo wants to stage the performance Orestes in Mosul, it was not something very strange for me, because as you said already, I had seen Milo in 2016. He had been here, and I had seen his courage and eagerness for art and the stuff in the war zone that he wants to do. So let me go back to that first time I met Milo, and actually he was with Stefan, to mention the names. So we went to an area, it's called Sinjar. Actually, Sinjar is one of the towns belongs to Yazidi people. Yazidis that most of the people probably here they know about, which they are non-Muslims, non-Christian. They are less heard about until 2014 that ISIS did a lot against them, so they are more known now. Anyway, we went to the town, which is the town in Iraq. Is number one destruction has got, like it's almost completely destructed. So in there we started to get the elements of the things that he wants to show, and yeah. So that was for Empire, and then of course in 2018. In 2018, the end around the end of 2018, Daniel, Milo, Johan, and Stefan, they came back and to check the ground and how it is for performing for staging or performing the Orestes in Mosul there, which is successfully. Also, we could, despite all the difficulties we face it in that time, but we could find the right things and get enough of the things that we want to make the right decision that they going to come and to stage the performance in Mosul. Yeah, so when they decided to come with a big crew, like 15 people together, so that's something for me, because I'm usually dealing with the people who comes from Western countries, usually like probably like 2, 3, maximum can be 4, or like, yeah, you know. So but 15 people and taking them into Mosul and in a bus, so going on. It was something I was always thinking about, but I was going there because I'm based in Erbil, but I was going back to Mosul and check the things and be careful and how's the safety, how's the security, how's the checkpoints, how's like a lot of things on the ground which is needed to be done and to make sure about the safety, to make sure about the things which is go all right. So again, but it was nice that successfully we could also do that. So they came here, we went there, and it was really a pleasure that we could day by day we could make the project go on, and in those days that they were here, I was like very cautious and of course, I mean, because there's a point for the people and the people that has come all the way from Europe to do this performance and also find the safety. So precautions, taking the precautions, and also thinking about getting what they have come for. So puts you in a kind of uncomfortability. So, but you have to find the balance and to make it work out. So yeah. In general, of course, it was a pleasure for all of us in Mosul, in Iraq. In general, I can say that we met those people. We could learn from them, and we could changing our thoughts together. And because for us, of course, it's very important that that the artists from Western countries, they visit us and deliver the things reality on the ground to the audiences in there, because a lot of time we have not been here very much, because a lot of time we have been portrayed in a way which everybody in this country can be dangerous or can be a different creature, but you know. So, but when those people coming and they see the things by their eyes and they taking the image of the reality, of course, it's makes us happy. Let's go back to this point, which you say that in that time that they came, Milo came for staging the Orestes in Mosul, and which Mosul, or the Nineveh province, which is the center of this Mosul city, was in a big need of so many other things. That's true, like the infrastructure, the building, the roads, the houses, I don't know, like so much destruction. But of course, how the infrastructure is important, that much also art and theater in general, they are also important, because if we don't have art, if we don't have kind of because art is in everything. If you're walking, there's a way of art that you walk and you walk better. If you rebuild, if you have art, you rebuild better. If you have if you fight, even if you fight, if you have art, you will be better. So everything needs art. So for us, I think they have been there in a right time. Because why? Because the people had been suffered so much, and especially maybe the people who was working with the Milo Rau, the local stuff. Let's say if the number is 20 people or more or less, they are in the direct contact with those people that they have come from the West, and they could change a lot of messages together and understand from each other, from so many other things which before it had been difficult even to imagine how it is. So yes, I think they were there in a right time, as I said, because it was an era after ISIS, which the people needed to be also given or given or shown another aspect of the life, that look what happened before, it was before, but now let's see how's life in another way, or in after. in the new era after ISIS, and let's start it, and let's have another kind of way that we can dealing. So I think it's good for us all together that after ISIS to input the peace through art, to put social reconciliation through art, or also to make way for better life in the future through art. Because
maybe I can.
Yeah, please.
Sorry to interrupt you, no, but it's actually because we've received a question, and I think it connects beautifully to what you and Khalid have been saying about this fact that the people in Mosul also just wanted to be heard and wanted to be listened to. Because the question that I got from somebody from the audience is, what were the questions about the underground reality that the European theater group was, due to time constraint and focus, unable to or did not ask during their time working with you in Mosul, and were therefore unable to engage with in the production? And then a question connected to it, or maybe just rephrased, is what would you have liked to see in Orestes in Mosul that was still missing from the final production? Is there something that you think that was still missing in the overall picture that the performance was able to draw?
Yeah, I mean, because to be honest, I'm not an artist. I think also in my introduction also it's clear that which I cannot go deep into the technical artistic stuff, but I think in general what I was expecting somehow it has delivered its own message in general. But just briefly, like what I was expecting, I have seen it in it, but probably as a first experience in that way, also there is kind of probably some kind of shortages or stuff. But in general, because not all that easy on the ground to work in Mosul, and keeping a balance between what it has been produced with those difficulties on the ground, I think it's a lot, and I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. All right, that's very great to hear. Maybe Khalid wants to add something. I have to say that we do have to, that I have received the order to quickly give the time to Kasha, because she's also eager to ask her guests, of course, but I'm very curious if you want to add something, Khalid, to this question. We don't hear you.
Yes.
Yeah. Or now I think it's on. Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
During that time, when guests from Europe or another countries came to Mosul, I was telling them like wounds still fresh, like the wounds of the city. It was really like, you know, that place, like you can see all of the damage, all of the trauma in the people. So it was a good choice to do something on that ground. Really.
All right. Okay, Kasha, then I think it's up to you now.
Thank you, Eline, for that very insightful conversation. Now I would like to speak to Daniel Demoustier and Klaus Theweleit, which I already introduced. Daniel, hello. I would first like to ask you, as a journalist, could you situate the project you're participating in now, and you already also filmed, could you situate the project Orestes in Mosul in your own journalistic journey and tell us more about it? Daniel?
I mean, yeah.
Now I hear
Can
you.
Hear
yes.
Me?
Yes.
Well, it's obviously this was as you just said in my introduction, that I have a long-term career in war journalism and conflict journalism. More than 25 years I've been covering conflicts, a lot in the Middle East, but also in Africa, in Bosnia and Kosovo, in Lebanon, and a lot in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then being comforted, well, being asked by Milo to be part of this artistic project was for me a new challenge, a very interesting challenge, especially because Mosul also was very close to my heart. Being, I was also part of the, I did the coverage of the liberation of Mosul, and Iraqi people. All my life, I were very close to my heart. They're extremely friendly, nice people. And I believe when Milo asked me the first time, he just asked me to come over to talk about my life, and I talked for about 6 hours. And following that, I received a text message at 3 o'clock in the morning where he asked me, "Can we go to Mosul next week?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And we went together with Johan and Stefan, who was the dramaturg at the time, and we met Sardar, and we went to Mosul to check it out. And since I have, of course, a lot of experience in these places, I could also feel what was possible to do and not to do. I mean, the challenge was great. Initially, the plan was that we would stage this production in Mosul. That Milo's idea first was to really play this play in the ruins of Mosul. But since the security situation wasn't that great yet, I mean, you have to understand, while we were there were still attacks happening. You have to, you know, a lot of ISIS fighters are still hidden in the city of Mosul. It's not a holiday destination, you know. So we had to balance the things a little bit, and I believe that my experience, and of course Sadar's and the local experiences, were very important to make this project happen. But the challenge was so great, and the need was also so great. I you know, when we went there the first time, we did auditions with local young actors. I mean, but actually there are no actors in Mosul because nobody ever had the chance to act. Nobody had the chance to have any cultural deployment. And so you could feel the eager of these young people that they finally get the chance to develop them culturally was so beautiful to see. This was amazing. This was fantastic, and you could feel that they wanted to do something. They really needed to do something, and even from a journalistic perspective, this was so interesting. This was very interesting to see, to watch, to witness this. But also, when I saw this, and that's why I actually came on the idea to make a documentary. Because initially I was hired in just as a cameraman to film the scenes we used in the film together with Moritz, the other cameraman. But then I felt like I should keep rolling on everything that's happening here because it's so interesting. This whole project, doing this project in this time in Mosul with these young people, it was something exceptional. And I believe that, therefore, I just kept my camera kept rolling and rolling. I had hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage of all the. I mean, it wasn't easy all the time. We had a lot of challenges. We had also a lot of cultural differences. And don't forget that in this play there are a few scenes who are really difficult to explain to the local culture. I mean, to give you one example, there is a scene where there's actually two men kissing each other, which created a lot of problems. I mean, quite rightly. I mean, and out of respect, I have taken all these scenes out of my film because we wanted to pay our respect to the local culture. So. On the other hand, I would say that these challenges and this positivism that was balancing sometimes were very interesting from a journalist perspective, like I said. But I'm very happy that we eventually made this thing, and actually we're feeling sad that we had to stop this thing. So what we want now is to go back there again and stay maybe for a year. Susanna explains it beautifully in the film, in the documentary. She says, what if we would have stayed? Just, you could see the amazing results we managed to produce after just 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What if these young actors can get a 6-month training or a year training? What you would see amazing results. And that's what we need to do now. We need to go back there and we need to give them the chance, not to go there to make our film. Now we have to go back there so they can make their own film. And we can assist them by giving them trainings, by giving them camera lessons, sound lessons, edit lessons, acting lessons, but so that they can create their own cultural project. And that's my big dream now. That's what we need to do.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. For my next question that I have to you, but also to Klaus, I would like to quote the famous Susan Sontag from her book Regarding the Pain of Others. My colleague Eline and I discussed this quite a bit before we had this conversation. And the quote is, "For photographs to accuse and possibly to alter conduct, they must shock. Does shock have term limits? Shock can become familiar. Shock can wear off. Even if it doesn't, one cannot look." And we asked ourselves as two young artists, do you think, and Klaus, this is the question also for you, do you think that reproducing images of violence in the context of an artistic production or in a journalist way has an emancipatory effect or more of a reaffirming effect? And what are we actually doing there, showing these pictures?
Is this a question to me or to Klaus?
Yeah, Klaus, maybe you. Klaus,
well, if
can you
I
hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
There is a moment in the film and in the beginning when what is his name, Johan Leisen, says he had to look at those discs with more than 300 executions, and he said he looked at them all, and with the result, one of the results was, I see them at night. He can't sleep, and they speak to him, and the victims, certain movements of them, he reproduces there. And when I got to see the first beheaded person by ISIS on the TV, and I looked at exactly 2 of them, and that was enough. I knew what was going on. Then I read the number, how many, but I didn't have to see them, all of them, once again and again. And I tried to, I know them now, and used several similar things before. So it's not, you should show them. It's necessary to have, to know about it, to see how they did the killings, how they laughed, how they kicked with the skull in one case, and so on. And that's absolutely necessary to realize in different places of the world, and but not to get it as a special movie for yourself and all the cruelties in the world. I think that will kill yourself in a certain way, your emotions and your because you really can't stand it if you are true with yourself. So you have to take very small doses, but to know it. And I think Susan Sontag spoke in the same way. It's not only the photograph book when she said the things you quoted, but also that when Abu Ghraib and those things happened and she saw the ISIS killings, she was absolutely shocked, but she saw them and said, I have to realize it can happen in America too. It's part of not ISIS, of our culture too. If there are groups which are strong enough to tell the American people to do this or that, and they are allowed to do those killings, she said they will do it. And yeah.
Thank you, Klaus. Daniel?
Yeah. Well, interesting detail here is that I have a daughter myself who's a theater director, and she finished her studies with creating a piece calling regarding the pain of others. She based on video pictures I made. She did a study, and it was actually a choreography on how your body reacts on watching these pictures. But in my career, and I always worked for British television, we had a rule that we would never show dead people on television. And you could think, how is that possible? But I did actually. Always when, and I've seen, and I can tell you, a lot of, unfortunately, dead people. But what we would always do is pay respects and therefore always cover the dead bodies. If you're talking about an incident, for instance, I remember I covered a story in Kosovo where we discovered a mass grave of about 30 people who were horribly, brutally massacred by the Serb soldiers. And these were villagers, these were normal people in a place called Račak. And I was the only person to film this at the time, and it was a very important incident that actually started to create the NATO war later, because that was the international community was so upset about this incident that they cried that the NATO then decided to attack Milosevic. But what we did, what I always do is I asked the people, please cover the bodies. Please we don't need to show the cruelty. We know these people have been killed. There is no sense. But what happened during the years is that because of social media, because of the situation, especially in Syria, where we normal media had no more access because it was too dangerous to operate there, we were dependent on the videos, the YouTubes of this is the footage we are getting in every day, especially in the beginning in Syria. It was unbelievably horrible, the pictures they were showing, the tortures, the killings. And yes, the question is, do you have to show this or you don't have to show this? In my opinion, I don't think you really have to show it, but it depends on the culture also. I mean, you go into more Latin countries where they like to show these things more than in the north, and it depends on the culture of the country itself as well. And yes, do we need to show the cruelty to have an impact? Me personally, I would say no. But to talk about it is important, and can we deny the fact that these horrible cruelty things are happening? No, we have to talk about it. We have to show it, but try to show it in a respectful way. I believe that is what we should do as filmmakers or media people. It is not needed to show the cut off head. It's absolutely horrific. And like Klaus rightly said, you can watch it one time, but you will not watch it a second time. It's too horrific. But we know it happening, but it's important that we report on it, but we don't have to show it.
Thank you. My next question to you, Daniel, would be about dignity. And before I speak more with Klaus, I was... Okay, I just heard a sound, but now I'm better. So about dignity, and we spoke about the cruelty of these images, but maybe you can tell us more about the dignity of a project like Orestes in Mosul and what can come next, maybe, to bring back dignity to people affected by violence.
Well, I think I mean, it's very strange. Huh? I mean, a place like Mosul, where you had obviously the big issue about Mosul is that this was a big city with millions of people who, in effect, have collaborated with ISIS. Also, here we have situations where there are families who have neighbors who killed members of their families. People have been collaborating with the ISIS system also. And now the big issue is how we bring dignity back in the city with all the population. The question is, and that's the main point of the Orestes, is the part 3, is the tribunal. What are we going to do with all these people? Are we going to kill them all now as well? Are we going to execute all these people who have collaborated with ISIS? Or are we going to bring back dignity? And can bringing back culture, could that be an instrument to bring back this dignity? And that's what I believe is what we can do, indeed. But not by us, but by the people themselves. They have to be encouraged to use culture to bring back dignity in their city. And that would be the most beautiful way to do it. And I believe that's possible. And I like Khalid has already started projects in Mosul by organizing concerts, slowly building up normal life again, but bring back culture. Culture could be an enormous important instrument to realize this.
Thank you, Daniel. Klaus, for me, I was very interested reading on your work. And we spoke about violence. We spoke about the effects of pictures of violence, of what it can do to people and its lives. And you created a theory of violence in the sense of also a violence of masculinity. And I would like to know more about that. And maybe you could briefly explain it to our audience what your theory encompasses.
Briefly is very funny.
We will try. I know it's a big volume you wrote, but we may try to bring it to a short introduction.
I split your question into 2 parts. First thing, very few words about male violence. There are certain parts of male violence you can find nearly everywhere in the world in male-dominated societies, where violence is at the core of those societies, and the allowance to kill. Men were killing in a way all through history, as Susan Cassandra tries to tell it in the film, but she doesn't show it. She is talking. It's a woman talking about violence, and that's a very different thing. And there we come to what the film really does. And one person in the film says it's crazy to be in the same moment on the TV, in the Greek antique, and in actual Mosul, and his personal situation in a room there with other people. So violence in all those stages is not the same. And there is the allowance to kill. That's a real definite part of male violence. They want to eliminate something. That's what ISIS did. They had really no other way to deal with reality than killing all those who were in their way or they thought were in their way. So much is a fact. And there is a power of the state. ISIS, they call themselves a state for just that reason, to have the allowance to do that, to make their own laws, which were above all the other ones, Allah or not. But the film, there's only one scene where I could see where there would be a way to show where the violence in this Iraq ISIS situation could stem from. That's the moment when Orestes kills his mother, kills Clytemnestra. And it's the revenge of the father, okay, the murder. But he says to her, you gave life to me, and then you spat me out. And then she spits into his face. And means you didn't care, parents didn't care. Agamemnon war, she with her lover, and he in an internat, somewhere at some relatives. And he comes, and this being spit out, that is the feeling I described in many of those, perhaps from Europe, who went to ISIS, who had no ground here beneath their feet, who felt themselves spit out of that society, had no ground, no real relations for living. And then somebody came and said, go there, and there you will be a hero and enter paradise, and so on, and so on. All the other time, the film doesn't deal with violence, I think. Or not to forget that this is the only scene in the film which has a very strong sexual connotation. And when she kisses him and he stabs her, and then the sounds she makes are very near to sexual sounds. And he afterwards is like this. And mother-son not being able to relate in another way than this sort of killing we see. But all the other time, the film is dealing with cooperation. What Daniel tried to say,
yes.
People from here, and what Milo always does to include the story of the actors, Belgium, Dutch, German, the Iraqian ones, and to get to create a room where it's not just a new experience. You enter a new world, and it's not enough to listen, to watch the TV, but to go there and to talk to them and to see they are really peaceful people. They don't want a war no longer. This shall be over. And then all what we see there and what we learn, and the European actors say all the time, we learned a lot. Only 14 days would we have stayed, what you said, for a month. What could happen, what could have happened. That's really a way you can say, where you can find other roads.
Exactly. I would like to emphasize that.
Yes, please, Daniel.
Yeah, because what we're so happy with is that UNESCO now is giving us an opportunity to go back. So UNESCO is now supporting a bigger project to support culture for young people in Mosul. And we have applied for this project. We would really be happy to go back there now and stay for a long time, and absolutely encourage young people to have a better cultural explosion. So we can help them, but especially let them explore their cultural activities more and more and more. And we really hope that UNESCO will support us doing this, together with the rebuilding of the whole beautiful old city that is completely destroyed. And there's a lot of work to be done there now. And it would be fantastic if we can make a little part of that to help them doing that. And I'm sure both all our Iraqi friends would be very happy to collaborate in this hopefully beautiful project.
Thank you, Daniel. That's why I will give the stage now over to Eline, who will more explicitly talk with the other three guests on this UNESCO project and what it could mean. And thank you, Klaus and Daniel, for a little dip into Susan Sontag's theories of violence and how we can deal with that. But now, please, Eline, it's your time now for the conversation.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you as well, Daniel and Klaus. It's very nice hearing to your perspectives and views on the documentary and the project itself. I would like to close this conversation or go to this final round of the talk by going back again to the Ghent Manifesto, and namely to the first rule this time, which states that it is not about portraying the world anymore, it's about changing it. Connecting this ambition to a project such as Orestes in Mosul, it's clear it's about rebuilding art, rebuilding infrastructure that can facilitate art. One of the projects that can or is likely to come out of this collaboration, Daniel already referred to it, is a UNESCO project. It's a joint project by NT Ghent and the Fine Arts Institute in Mosul, and it's an ambition or a desire to rebuild infrastructure for the movie department in Mosul. I heard that the project is in its final stage of the application, and I know that you, Susanna, are part of it as well, namely being one of the coaches. So I was wondering if you could give us maybe a bit of info on the project, what it is about, and maybe also about what your hopes are on how the outcome, what it could be.
Yeah, Daniel already explained us a bit about the upcoming project, hopefully. So let's go a step back first. When we went there in March 2019, we listened to the stories about the experience they went through during the ISIS occupation. So our general feeling was that there was great human and artistic potential, and that it would be fantastico, as Milo likes to say, that it would be fantastico to continue this collaboration with the students of the Institute of Fine Arts of Mosul in order to set up a more structuralized or institutionalized structure to continue, for example, workshops, to continue projects, to shape the future, the artistic and cultural future of Mosul. So UNESCO now is giving the opportunity to support cultural projects in Mosul in order to give young students, female, male, the chance to again practice their own culture in a city that has been suffering from ISIS and suffering from war, from this from conflict for so many years. Yeah, Daniel, I think Daniel already said this, or we can talk about it together, Daniel. Our main partner would be the Institute of Fine Arts of Mosul, and the main idea is, as Daniel said before, to come back to Mosul in separate phases with a small team of professional actors, directors, a technical film crew, of course, in order to create a project that can fulfill all the necessary requirements. Because of course, since the infrastructure is not given or still problematic when it comes to rehearsal rooms or to an equipped theater. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
There is nothing. I mean, there is absolutely nothing, and so actually, Johan came with the idea. Let's let them make a movie. You know, we can do that anywhere. And that, I think that, and we can include music, we can acting. I mean, all levels of artistic expression can be brought together in this project. And I think that's a brilliant idea, and I would love to do this, and also give them technical training, artistic training. How do you write scripts? How do you act? I mean, all these things can be combined in a huge, longer project. But it's like you say, it's giving them a permanent infrastructure over a longer period that can,
and also
to
create a permanent film department in Mosul.
Yeah, for instance. Why not? Why not? I mean, we can do many things, but especially it has to come from them. And it is because you say there is this art school, but basically there was no art school. There was nothing. I mean, the reality was that Mosul was deprived from any cultural infrastructure from not only ISIS time, but even before ISIS time, there was the Al Qaeda time, and before Al Qaeda there was Saddam Hussein, and there was this, and there was so many. This city has been suffering from a horrible decades and decades of lack of cultural infrastructure, and it's really time to do something about this now. But like I say, also it's not up to us alone. We can only assist, but we have to give now the chance, the opportunity of the young people in Mosul themselves to deploy themselves, and we can assist them in this.
I would also like to refer to the other colleagues, Johan Leysen, Marijke Pinoir, Dureit, Abbas Ghaib, who were also like leading the workshops, and Daniel and me were speaking for all of them right now. Yeah. Of course, our schedule will be adapted to the evolvement of the current COVID-19 situation. So we did foresee to go back.
I just got a message in a few days ago that Iraq is now giving easier access to visas, which would be great because it's so difficult to get Iraqi visas. But that's been sorted out now. It's that's excellent news. So now, because getting a visa to Iraq is very difficult, but now that's been much more easier now. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, getting a visa will not eliminate the COVID-19 pandemic.
No,
but yeah, I mean, we did foresee to go there end of April of this year, 2021, assuming that the pandemic situation has positively evolved. But yeah, let's see. But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious because Sardar, you of course speak from the other perspective, being like a man on the ground, a man from Mosul. What do you think is the importance of projects, of initiatives such as these? What role do they play in the creation of a global ensemble?
Actually, as briefly, I put the light on that part, which is we said art is important for everything, which is, of course, if this kind of project is like Orestes of Mosul or UNESCO project is, as it can be named, the revive of the spirit of art in Mosul, can have a big role in putting up the infrastructure of art or literature in Mosul, because as everything else in the city, art also has been destroyed by those years of violence, all the way from Saddam's era to Al Qaeda and then to ISIS, as Daniel also mentioned that. So I think if this kind of projects from different sources, from different teams, or I mean more teams like the Daniel or like Milo, like others, more of such kind of projects need, not only this one, I mean, but it's of course necessary now, the people that they have put the idea together to make it. And I believe if this is going to happen, then it can have a big impact on the ideas of how to revive the literature or art in Mosul. So unfortunately now nothing is in the city much going on about art, because already people still are trying for other needs to get it, like, you know, but there is a lot of talks, a lot of things in the city which they say like, we have this idea, we have this project, but on the ground actually you don't see much. I'm hoping that more people getting idea to do something for the art in Mosul, because beside the rebuilding buildings and houses and homes, also this is very important that literature and art going to be helped for rebuild again.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Before I go to my final question, which I will pose to Khalid, I will ask one of the questions I received from the audience, because it somehow connects to this idea of, or this project, such as the UNESCO projects or initiatives to go to Mosul and to really invest in the city and invest in infrastructure. But this is more production related, but I'll refer it. And I think it's a question somehow directed to Susanna and Khalid, so I already say that. The question is, I would like to know more about how the endings, forgive/revenge, are made by the actors, actresses in Mosul. Considering the given power relations among the participants, how do you prevent, overcome this relationship? How did you prevent putting the answers you want in their mouths? Can the subalterns really speak? I don't know if one of you or of the others, if Sardar, if you feel like you want to respond to this question, go ahead.
I think if the question gets repeated, it will be better. Is it possible, please? Can you repeat the question? Yes, I will repeat
it once more. Yes, maybe I can also paraphrase it a bit.
Yes.
So the person is wondering, or he or she would like to know more about particularly the ending. So the final scene in the Oresteia, in which it has to be decided if they are either going to forgive or if they are to continue the war. And the person is wondering, considering the given power relations there was between the actors and the people coming from Belgium in this case, and the actors in Iraq, how this relationship, how this was, and how this power dynamics was overcome in this case. Because a person is wondering if how shall I say it? How did you prevent putting the answers you want in their mouths? How could we make sure that the answers that we're giving to this question on either or not to forgive, that they were really theirs?
Well, if I may, we actually, we have had long debates about all these questions, which we filmed as well. There were the questions about revenge or not. That's basically the question. Did we put that in their mouths? No. These were debates we had with all the actors, with all the people involved in this project. Is what do you do with the ISIS fighters? Are you going to kill them or are you not going to kill them? And which you could see also in the documentary. It is a very interesting debate, of course. And it is also, and like I anticipate now, is also, if we implement culture again in Mosul, are we going to do that, or we're going to give them now the opportunity to do it themselves? That is very important, I believe, personally. And it is the same as the debate about who's responsible, who's not responsible. I mean, actually, these are on the same level. This is the same kind of question: is what is going to be the future now? Is it something they're going to decide themselves? Is it going to be a tribunal, like in the third part of the Oresteia, to decide about this? I think it's now the time for the people in Mosul themselves to make those decisions. And all we can do is assist them, but it has to come now from them, but it has to be pushed a little bit, if you like. But that is, I think, the answer. It's like, no, the people have the right, after all these decades of oppression, being told what to do by international organizations and so on. It's now the time for them to have the chance to discover themselves on every level, on justice and on culture.
So, Eline, in case the question was referring to the technical process of the scene, practicing the tribunal was part of the final tribunal in the end, because, of course, we were practicing the scenes before, and Khalid already said, and Daniel already said that, we were questioning different kind of questions in these tribunals, and there were a lot of discussions, a lot of dispute as well amongst the young people and also the older generation, for example. So there were we had conflicts, but in the very end, what you can also see in the movie, there's this final question: should we pardon ISIS fighters, or should we kill them? And you can see the camera goes along, and there is no reaction, neither yes or no. And this was a spontaneous moment. This was not scripted. So we all experienced this moment at the same time, and also the actors of the scene have evolved to that point. So there was nothing. You know, it's very easy if you grew up in Germany, like me, for example. You have this. Even if I do have family in Mosul, and of course my connection to ISIS is maybe slightly a different one to other German citizens, because there's this emotional contact with the family. But still, you grew up in Europe or in Germany, and you have this, you want to see yourself in a position of humanity, and you say, yes, of course, no killing anymore, let's pardon everyone. And then you go deep to the stories, and you actually listen to the stories and to the people. And as Daniel said, it's not about your voice anymore. And then you start to question yourself, okay, this is a heavy topic, it's a dilemma, it's a tragedy. And we can just understand this بالعقل, as on a rational level, without experiencing it. It's already a tragedy when it comes to the factor X and Y.
Yes. All
but
right.
Khalid, what do you
much.
think? How was it for you? Because you were in this moment, and
you know, for me, I think it depends for the people. It depends from one to other, because there are some people there are some people, they lose dear people, like a brother or father or something. So that to keep looking for revenge, looking to kill these people who did that for him. For me, I was looking to a real justice, and good people to can judge those groups of killers. They are killers, but this is not my choice. I'm not that person who should make the choice, and I think it's the best choice of the film. It was like open scene, like open end. No one know what happened exactly. I think that was perfect.
Yeah. All right. Then I think also looking at the time, I think I've come to my final question, which I will connect to one of the quotes or one of the things that I will keep from tonight's conversation is a statement by Daniel, like use culture to bring back dignity to a city. My final question I would like to pose to you, Khalid. Because one of the central ideas in Aeschylus' Oresteia is this idea of suffer and learn. After Mosul has been suffering for such a long time, I feel there is so much for us to learn, and also about the power of art, of what art is capable of. Could you tell us a bit about the importance of rebuilding art and about the role it plays in the rebuilding of the city?
Yeah, first, I believe that art can be help to heal. And as I told you before, the blood and the wounds of Mosul is still fresh, and we need to heal these wounds by art. For me, I worked with some organization about art projects, like teaching music for people, make some theater for them. There is a kind of theater, it's called playback theater. So this is one of the important things that I see. Cities without art, it, this is this it is a cities without heart, without love, without peace. Like for me, one day I wanna see the new generations can feel and can know what is art, can feel, can see the beauty of art, can believe that art is not haram, it's not something forbidden. They should feel it. They should, for me as a person, I was person, and when I being an artist or a musician, I completely changed to another person. But for me, I was looking, to a chance to learn. Like if Daniel remember, or Susan or Sardar also. When the first time I came to Milo, I told him I have energy and I wanna do something. But I was also thinking with myself, even if I didn't get a chance to act or something, but I will come every day and watch and learn and see how these people do these things, because I just have internet, but internet is not enough for me to see what happened exactly. And I have been before in Belgium twice. I made some concerts in Belgium, and I visit several cities, and there is a scene still in my mind, and I will never forget all of my life. There is a city called Leer. I was in the city, and we were sitting in a place. There was an institute, music institute, I think, close to the place we were staying. And like afternoon, I was, I was just go afternoon looking to the beauty view, and I saw young children and boys and girls, coming with a bike with the instrument. They just going to the institute and doing some music there. So I really wanna one day I wanna see that scene, that scene which is still in my mind. I wanna see that scene in my city. I hope it's a dream for me. It's a dream for me to learn more and do more, and also to do something for the new generations. And also something I want to add, like I'm so grateful for all of the group. Like I learned so many things from them, and they give me good energy to show myself like who I am, and breaking maybe the shine, and also I can tell all of the name, but Milo, Daniel, Susan, Duray, Johan, Maraika, all of them, they were like those people who's like, it's not only a work between us, it was like teacher and students, it was father and mother and kids, it was really good relationship. And when they left, everyone was crying, and I still feel that, and I still remember. And in the beginning of March 2020, I came to Belgium to do some concert. And when Milo found out that I am in Belgium, he called me and he said, "You have to come." It was not like an asking; it was an order. You have to come to Ghent to see the theater. Yeah, it was really a dream for me to see that huge place, great place. And I said, like, I met all of the team there, and it was really great moments for me. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Danielle, Susan, everyone. Thank you.
I hope we can welcome you very soon in our theater, Khalid. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm going to give the word to Kasia again, because Kasia will thank all our guests for tonight. So I will shut up, basically.
Thank you, Eline. Thank you to everybody who joined this conversation tonight, this very full round, which deeply touched me, hearing the stories, but also gave me a lot of hope, seeing that it can be sustainable, that what we do is sustainable in all the madness and the suffering that we are surrounded. For tomorrow, it's our last day of the School of Resistance. We are very happy to welcome again at 4 o'clock Edouard Louis, Geoffroy de la Gaznerie, and Milo Rau in a conversation with Laura Capel. Afterwards, we will look more into the project The New Gospel, which was released to 2020 in Germany. And we will speak with activists and actors and participants of that project also about the sustainable way they are creating their art. And I thus thank all of everybody who participated, the audience for the wonderful questions, the technical team for helping us with this crazy big session. And I wish you now a wonderful evening, and I'm saying goodbye.
Shukran Khalid, shukran Sardar.
Yeah.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Shukran. Bye.